Okay, in this video we are going to construct the infamous dessert page assignment, the dessert page typography assignment. There's a lot of type in this assignment. There's a lot of things that are techniques, InDesign techniques. We've gone over most of them in class. And so this is a project that kind of brings all of that together into one assignment. So without further ado, let me share my screen and get right to the assignment. I'm going to go to Canvas first, and you'll see this assignment listed on your Canvas page. It's called the Dessert Page for Online Magazine. And this would be what we're going to do is create this page. This would be a page that would be used in an online magazine or possibly a cookbook, a digital cookbook. It involves lots of information, 5 different desserts that are listed here with photographs of each. Copy underneath that. Now this is all placeholder copy. This is not a actual written piece, but placeholder copy, individual columns for each individual dessert. Then there's a main article here that runs in 3 columns, and there's some type that wraps around this image here. There's what we call a sidebar, and that's kind of usually in a magazine or a newsletter or newspaper, you'll see these things that kind of set apart the information. In other words, when you see this, it's kind of separate from the main information here. This is calling out a separate article or a separate kind of attention grabber here. And then we have a photograph of this cookbook that's kind of tilted, and then we have some text or a caption that runs alongside of this cookbook, explaining what it is and where you can get it, whatever, how much it costs. We have some drop caps that are used for aesthetic purposes, just to kind of spice up the article a little bit. We have a large heading and a description of that heading. So if we break it down into individual parts, you can see that it's not too many moving parts in this. I'm going to go back to the finished version here. And if I just kind of slowly break this apart, hit my W key, you can see that that's a text box. And all of this is a table that we can kind of select and move out. So all of that moves together. Then we have individual text boxes that are linked with each other. 3. Okay, these are all running and linked together. We have a photograph here with a type wrap attached to it. We have another text box here that's broken up into 4 columns with a photo where the text wraps around that. We have a cookbook, and then we have a caption here. So if I Command Z, all of these back, we'll put all of this back together again. Okay, and that's basically what we're going to create. You can see that the page is an 8.5 by 11 page. It's broken up into 3 columns, and then we have this other text box here below it that's broken up into 4 columns with a text wrap around this image here. So that is pretty much the gist of what we're going to do. So let's get started with this. I'm going to kind of keep this out to reference this, but I've taken some notes, so hopefully this will go faster than longer. Okay, so now before I get started here, one of the things is you're going to download this asset zip file. And in the asset zip file, if I open that up, you're going to see that it contains the font that we're going to use, that is not natively on your computer, this chunk 5. You probably already have it on your computers because we've used it before. You're going to have all of the images that you're going to use here, all of the images, the photographs, and then you're going to have this dessert copy PDF. Now this dessert copy PDF is the actual copy that, let's say, a client would send us. And if I kind of went to that PDF file and open that up, let me open that PDF file up. You can see that this is the way a client would send us copy. So we can see the title is called Dessert. The title description next to it on the right is this blob of copy here. Again, this is all placeholder copy, so don't read it. The photo descriptions refer to these. Let me put this over here so you can kind of see this. We're talking about these photo descriptions right here. Okay, that would be all of this section here. Now what I did here is I just set one and then I repeated that throughout each column here. So this text is all the same running throughout. The only thing I changed were the headings: ice cream, cakes, pies, etc. Okay, the main article, which is this article right here, the one that runs in 3 columns, is this text here. And then the text that runs through the sidebar is this text here, is all of this right here. And then the caption, which is right here, okay, next to the cookbook, is this text right here. So this PDF file represents all of the text that we are to use in this piece. I'm gonna just hide this for a minute. Okay, so one of the questions might be, before we get started in building this, is how do we get to this point? How did we get to this layout? How do you look at blank raw text like this and have any idea of how to put it together and make it look like this? Well, this is the designer's design. This is where your creativity comes in. But it's more than just creativity. It's practical. It's the ability to take lots of text and know how it's going to fit, or at least start with an idea and hope it works and build upon from there. So I want to show you what's called a thumbnail sketch. And a thumbnail is something that a designer will do before they partake and embark upon doing this. I mean, you can't just sit with a blank piece of paper or open up a blank document and start fitting all this stuff in without a plan. You need a plan. It's like a roadmap as to where you're going to go. And in my graphic design, fundamentals for graphic design class, when I teach that, I usually teach, the creative aspect of graphic design. How do you get from copy to a layout? And how do you even know where to put things? This is already done for you. This layout has already been done. So all you're doing is kind of copying what the designer has already done, what an art director, and that's very common. An art director on the job might give you a layout or a thumbnail and say, here, make it look like this. Well, here is, and I'm going to hope that we can see this. You can see this, but I'm going to put this out here in front of you. And let me jump back to my my view here. And let me kind of put this out in front of you here. See if you can see that. Okay. This is my camera's having a hard time focusing on it. Okay. This is a thumbnail of the idea. You can see it's very rough and it's very sketchy, but you can see there's this thought of what's going to happen. Now, it might not actually come out looking exactly like this, but at least this is a start. At least this is a plan. And I've got little notes saying what is what, black background and cookbook, photos, and etc. Okay. I know it's kind of hard to see this way, but anyway. Okay. So that is really the way we start. And from there, we take the information and we open up a document and we start trying to make it work. But I already know that I'm thinking of using a table to do all of the, all of the work, all of the photos and descriptions and things. So, okay, let me go back to sharing my screen here. Okay, so I'm going to start with, we already know that the image size is 8.5 by 11. Okay, that's given to us. We can't do anything about that. We're having to work within that format. So I'm going to go up to File, New, Document, and I'm going to open up a 8.5 by 11 document. Okay, now we're going to do something. We're going to have to establish columns in this, and the columns that we're going to use are 3 columns. And then the gutter space I have, and I've written some notes here, so I'm going to just refer to my notes as far as the gutter space that I used, and if I could even read my notes here. I think it's 0.1875, is it? Let me go up here. Yeah. I'm going to type in 0.1875. And I'm going to click Create. Okay, we're going to leave our margins at 0.5 or ½ inch margins. We're going to use one page. I'm going to uncheck facing pages, and I'm going to click Create. Okay, and this is what we should end up having when our page comes out. Okay, and the 0.1875 spacing is the gutter space in between here. All right. Now, the very first thing that I'm going to do before I start doing anything is set up my palette configurations here. I'm going to be using a lot of typography, so I'm going to go to my typography setting here. And I'm also going to set up my layers. And normally I usually set up 3 layers, and we've been using this before. Let me just add 2 more layers, so I'll hit the plus sign here. And my top layer I usually designate as type or typography. And then my second layer is always images or photos. I just say images because they could be illustrations. And then the last bottom layer is always the background. And the background is usually a color or a photograph or whatever you're using as a background. Now you could add more layers depending on how you want to work, but these are the basic layers that I like to set up. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is select the background layer, and I'm going to grab a rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and draw a box that fills the page. And if you go to your typography palette configuration here, you should have swatches already out. So I'm going to take my swatches and make the background black. And this outline here, I don't need an outline, so I'm going to click the outline, bring it forward, and make it none. Okay, so no outline, but a black fill background. And if I click on my layers palette, you can see the background now. I'm going to lock it, okay, because I don't want to move this anymore, and it's there. So, when you're clicking and dragging, and you don't want the background to move. Okay, so where do we start? Well, also make sure that you have your layout handy here. And I'm going to walk you through the point sizes and the typefaces and all of that in this video. So, okay, so the first thing we're going to do is let's just start from the top. We're going to put in the word dessert and the paragraph next to it. Okay, this paragraph here and this word dessert. So let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to use our copy because we're going to highlight this text for the paragraph. And I will just start with a text tool. I'll make sure that I'm on the typography layer. because both of these are type. I'm going to start and draw a text box, just kind of roughly what I think it's going to be. I'm going to type in the word dessert, and it's in black so I can't see anything, so I'll just highlight that and I'll make that white. So I'll go to my swatches, I'll turn that white, and then I know that the typeface is going to be chunk 5, so I'll go down to my chunk 5, and I know that this is 99 points. Okay, so I'll just come up to the point size here and I'll double click in this and I'll just type 99 and enter, and there is my text. Okay, nice and big, nice and white, and I want the top to line up on the top of this margin here. Okay, I'll tidy that up a little bit. Okay, and just kind of let it snap right up there. Okay, so that's in there, and then let's go to the we have this text here that's going to sit in there, and that text is, now is that, yeah, that's 2 columns wide. This text is actually 1 column wide, so I'm going to draw a text box that's 1 column wide, like maybe from here to here. And that text is actually going to be Minion Pro 10-point regular. And then the heading is going to be Minion Pro bold. So let's set this up, Minion Pro regular, but instead of 12 points, let's make it 10 points. And let's make the color paper so that when we paste it in, it's going to come in exactly at this size. Now I could make a style out of this, and maybe I should just make the style right after I make this. This is because, are we going to use Minion Pro again? Yes, we are. We're going to use Minion Pro 10-point for the main body copy. So I should make a style out of this. So let me bring this in first. I'm going to go to my copy here and I'm going to highlight this description. Okay, and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it in here. Okay, and see how it pastes in white. And I'm going to call this, I'm just going to call this the main article. So I'm going to make a style right now. I'm going to come up to paragraph styles. And I'm going to add a style. Double click on this and I'm going to call this the main article. And I'm going to go to basic character formats. You see it picked it up, Minion Pro regular 10/12. I want to check the color of this to make sure that it's white. So I'll come down to character color and sure enough it's white. I'll click OK. And now I have my main article paragraph style here. So if I use Minion Pro 10/12 again, now I can just click this and it will format it exactly. Okay, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to position this down, okay, right where it's kind of right on the baseline of this text right here. That's good design when you're looking for alignments here. Let me zoom in here so that you can see. I've got my guide here, okay, and it's going to sit right on the bottom of this text, and I want the bottom of this to be, and I'm using my little nudge keys now, okay, to sit right on there. Okay, so that looks good. I'll tidy up this text box here. Okay, both texts are on the typography layer. And one thing I'm going to do is make this bold, okay, and it's actually going to be bold and in yellow. And so I think I'll make a style. Let's see if I'm using that again anywhere. Yes, I'm going to be using that. Well, no, but I'm going to be using that color. So I want to establish this yellow color here. And I'm going to put that in my swatches palette because I'm going to use that yellow color on the drop caps, on the sidebar, and on these headings here and up here. So rather than make a style out of this bold here, I think I'll just make that color right now. Okay, so let me go over here. Let me go over to my swatches palette here. And whatever color I have here, I'm going to double click on this and I'm going to make this color. Now, I think I wrote this yellow down at 252 RGB. Okay, so 252. Hit my tab key, go down one. 246. Hit my tab key. And then, what is it? 184. Okay. And there is my yellow. Okay. Actually, I need to put it in my swatches palette, so I'll add the RGB swatch. Okay, there it is, yellow. I'm going to name this right now. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to name this yellow. Just dessert page yellow. Okay, so I know every time I'm using that yellow, it's going to be that. All right, I'm going to come up here and make this bold. Minion Pro bold. And when I do that, you're going to see how under my paragraph styles, it changed to this main article text might have a plus sign next to it. Let's see what happens when I click off of this. Oh, I'm going to hit the swatches and make it yellow. Okay, turn that into yellow. Okay, so there. So when I highlight this text right here under paragraph styles, oh, it didn't change to that. Oh yeah, when I click on main article, you see how the plus sign now? And the plus sign simply means that I added something new to this main article style. So whenever you have a style and then you add something new to it, you're going to see a little plus sign right here. And I think that might have happened to some of you in the last assignment. Okay, anyway, let's move on. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create this this table here. And that's going to be the main event of this piece. And how far down we're coming with this table is I'm going to just actually check my other one here and see about where we are with the depth of this table. And the depth of this table is coming down to about, oh, not quite 6 inches deep. Okay, 0 is the top of the page here. So it starts at about, 1 7/8, and it goes down to kind of a little less than 6. So it doesn't have to be exactly that, but we'll do that. Okay, so how do we make a table? We click our text tool. That's how we make the table. I'm going to bring a guide down to say about here. Okay, a little less than 2 inches. Put that guide right there. And I'm going to bring a guide down to a little bit less than 6 inches here. And that's going to be about the depth of our table. We'll just say that the table's about that big. We will click and drag a text box, okay, from margin to margin and lock it there. And then what I'm going to do is come up to table and insert a table. Now our table is going to be 5 rows or 5 columns by 2 rows. Okay, if we look at this here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, and we have 1, 2 rows. Okay, so that's all the table is going to be. So I'm going to change it to 2 rows, 5 columns. I'm going to click OK. All right, now I'm going to hold the Shift key down. Okay, actually, I'm going to hold that shift key down and bring that table all the way down to the bottom there. All right. Now I'm going to again hold the shift key down, and this center, now see how it broke the table up into 2 even rows, but I don't want even rows. I want my top rows to be kind of square like that, and I want the bottom row to be more rectangular and deeper. Okay, if I turn my guides off, hit my W key, get rid of all of that, that's kind of what we have there. Okay, we have a square and then we have kind of a rectangle, okay, a deeper rectangle. I'm going to put all my photos in these cells right here. Now before I start, let's make the cells white, the outlines of them white, because that's what they are. So with the cells selected, I'm going to go up to table. Actually, I have to do this with a text tool. I'm just going to click in the table. I'm going to highlight all of these cells, and I'm going to come up to table and cell options and strokes and fills. And I'm going to make the weight 1 point and the color I'm going to make white or paper. Okay, so all of my cell strokes are going to be white. I'm going to click OK. And when I click off, when I get rid of my guides, you can see that now I have a table of white outlines. Okay, and that's what we want. All right, so now what we're going to do is bring in all of those photos. So let's bring in the photos and let's take a look at our example. We've got ice cream, chocolate cake, pies, fruit, and yogurt at the end. Okay, let me see if I can remember that. Ice cream, cake, pies. All right, so I'll start by inserting my cursor into the first cell. I'll do Command D to place. I'll go over to my desktop and I'll look in under my assets and I'll look under my images, and my first one is going to be ice cream. And there's the photo. I'm going to click open and it should pop that photo right into that cell. Now I can kind of click on the middle here and see the, see the whole thing. I can move that ice cream over. If I wanted to see more of the green ice cream, I could do that. Okay, that's fine. I'll just do it where we can see some of that. I'll grab my text tool again, click in the next cell, and I'll do Command D, and I'll bring in the cake, that cake, and I'll click open. And for the sake of this, I'm just going to do this quickly and log in the next one, which is the pies, Command D. There's that. Click open. And again, you have to keep going back to your text tool here, Command D. And it's the fruit. Click open. And then the last one is the yogurt. Command D. And get the yogurt and open. Okay, so I've got all my photos in this cell now. Now, if you notice, I didn't save yet, and that's something that you should always do right off the bat. As soon as we open up the page, we should save it. So we don't want to sit here and do hours and hours of work and never have saved anything. So I'm going to just save this right away. I'm going to go up to File and Save. And I'm going to name this Dessert Page Demo InDesign Document. I'm going to save this to the desktop and just click Save. Okay, so now I'm saved. Should be on my desktop. There it is, Dessert Page Demo. All right. Now I'm going to put all the text in here. Okay, so I'm going to grab my text tool. Now I know that this text is This text is going to be Myriad Pro 8 over auto. And the cell options are going to be 0.1875. Okay. I'm going to make, this is Myriad Pro 8 over auto. So I'm going to make do the first one, and then I'm going to make a paragraph style out of that so that we can do that to each one. I'm going to highlight this whole bottom section here because I want to put in the cell options insets all to affect all of these at once. So I'm going to go up to my table and cell options. I'm going to go to my text cell options, and under here, under cell insets, I'm going to make it 0.1875. Okay, so 0.1875, and I'm going to hit this chain link so that it affects all of the cell, left, top, bottom, and everything. Okay, and then I'm going to click OK. So now when I click in here with my text tool, it's going to inset it 0.1875 from the left and from the top. Okay, so now I can actually start putting in my text. Okay, I'm going to set this up at Minion Pro 8 point over 10 or over auto. Okay, and I want the text to be in white, so I'll do my swatches paper. And so now that I have all this set up, I'm ready to import this text. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take all of this text. This is the photo description stuff. And I'm going to highlight all of this, copy it. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it in. Okay. Now what happened was, I think it came in too deep. Yeah, see how it came in really deep here? Okay, so that means my table was a little bit too short, which means I needed to bring in my table a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Make this table make the text box a little bit deeper than my table. Okay, so all of this fits. And it looks like, it looks like I might have to make this, well, I'll just leave it like this. Okay, so let's zoom in here and see what we have. You can see that we have all of this text is in Minion Pro. It's white. It's 8 over 10 or 8 over auto. Okay, now one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to since we're copying all of this text and we're just pasting it in and just changing out the titles, I don't think we need to make a paragraph style out of this. Or no, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't mean to confuse you, but this is Myriad Pro 8 over auto. Okay, that's why. It's Myriad Pro 8 over auto. So I'm going to highlight all of this. I made a mistake and made it Minion Pro. This is Myriad Pro. So let me come down to Myriad Pro. Change this. That's why it came out too deep. Okay. Let me come up here and find Myriad Pro. Here it is, Myriad Pro. And this is 8 over auto. Okay, Myriad Pro. And let me back out of this again. Okay, so let's take a look and see. Okay, that's Myriad Pro right there. That's the way it should be. And I think my table is a little bit too short. So I'm going to select this table. And I'm going to bring this table down just a little bit deeper. Okay, maybe something like that. make the text box a little bit deeper than the table is. Okay, so that's fine there. Let me zoom in here. Okay, so that's looking good. This is Myriad Pro white 8-point. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this one line off here, and I'm going to type in ice cream, hit my return key. Okay, so that's the title. And I'm going to make this chunk 5. And that should be chunk 5, 9/10. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. So it's 9/10. And it's going to be in yellow. So it should look like that. Okay. Let me just come over here, make sure. Now this text right here looks like it's 50% black. Okay, it's not quite white. So I initially made this white text. So really what this should be, if I highlight this, just the text, this should be black at 50%. Okay, it'll still show up, and it should look like that instead of so white. So this is actually yellow, chunk 5, 9-point. Okay, 9-point. This is Myriad Pro regular, 8/9, and it's in black at 50%. Okay, so that's what that is. Now, the next part is going to be really easy. We don't need to make a paragraph style out of this, because all we're going to do is take our text tool. We're going to highlight all of this text. I'm going to copy it. Okay, Command C. I'm going to come over into the next field, and I'm going to paste the same text. And then let me just back out of this for a sec, a little bit. Then I'm going to come over to this field here and paste it again. Come over to this field, paste it again, and so forth. Okay, because, you know, these would be different descriptions, but for our case in doing this project, we're just going to use the same text here. But I'm going to highlight this and change this to cake, and change this to pies. Hit the return key, and change this to, now what did that say? Fruit and yogurt. Okay, so these are fruit pies, and this is yogurt. Oops, capital Y. Okay, hit the return key. Okay, so this is done now. Let me back out of this. Take off my W key here so we can see how that works. Okay, so that's the table, and that's the text descriptions underneath each. Now, you know, in reality, these would be different descriptions. They might be shorter, longer, whatever. But and that's another design tip. Whenever you have columns of text, if you have some that are short and some that are long, try and arrange it where it's long, short, long, short, long, or short, long, you know, varying rather than, you know, short, longer, longer, because then you get what's called the stair step effect, and that looks kind of weird because of the negative space that it creates. Okay, so we're done with that. And now we're going to place our main article underneath. Okay, so let's get our text tool out. And this time we're going to kind of click and drag a large text box. Let's just drag a large text box here. Let's go over to our PDF file, and this is all of that text right there. Okay, so we're going to grab all of this, copy it off, come in here, and we're just going to paste it in. Okay, now it's black. Okay, it's been pasted in. It's black against the black background. In fact, if I went to my layers and I turned off the visibility, you can see that all that text did paste in. Okay, but we can't see it because of the black background. Okay, let's highlight all this text. And it's actually going to be our paragraph style of main article. Okay, so I'm going to click the main article, and there it is. It's in white. So now it's white on white, so we can't see it. So let's go to our layers palette and turn back on our black background, and now we can see all that text. Okay, so this is all of this text right here that runs all the way down. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to break this up into 3 columns, and then we have to bring in our photo so that this text can wrap around it. So I'm going to take my selection tool, and I'm going to click and drag this text column to 1 column wide. Okay, I'm going to pull this up a little bit, and then we have the overset text icon, right? So I'm going to grab that, click on that. I'm on my selection tool now, and I'm going to click and kind of dump the rest of it out next to it. And then I'm going to click again and dump the rest of that out next to that. Now, whether it all came out or not, yes, it all came out because we don't see any overset text icon here. Okay, I'm just going to leave it this way right now. What I can do is put in my drop cap. Okay, we can do that right now. So let me grab the text tool, and I'm going to zoom in here to this letter S. Okay, now the letter S is a drop cap that is going to be in the typeface chunk 5. Okay, we know that. We know that the drop cap, if we look at our original here, it's going to drop 3 lines, 1 letter, 1 character is dropping 3 lines deep in chunk 5 in yellow. So that's easy enough to do. We have chunk 5. Let's go up to our paragraph attributes. Let's go over to our drop cap. Remember, we learned this the other day. And we're going to do 1 character. Okay, and it's going to drop 3 lines. Okay, we have to, oops, I'm sorry, up here, 2 lines, 3 lines. Okay, 1 character dropping 3 lines deep, and the color is going to be that color we created, desert page yellow. Okay, so we'll just click on that. We'll click off, and there we have it. And do Command 0 to back out. Okay, so now we have our drop cap here. Now let's bring in our photograph that we're going to wrap. So I'm going to get on my move tool. I'm going to do Command D to place, okay, or file place. I'm going to go over to the photograph that we're going to use, and that is this. Now, I already knocked it out in Photoshop, and I already did a soft vignette. And because there was a black background, I did a soft vignette, and that will blend into this black background here, hopefully. So I'll click Open, and I'll come over here, and I'm just going to click and drag a relative box size. Okay, not too small, not too big. Doesn't matter. We can always adjust that. And I'm going to just drop it there. Now, remember how we did a text wrap? We selected the object. We went up to our text wrap, which happens to be in your typography configuration here. And we designated this photo to wrap a round object shape. Okay, so we're going to select that. Now, when we bring this into this text, all the text is going to get, repel the shape. But we need to figure out what the contour options are before we do that. So we have to click here and we have to do select subject. And that's going to tell InDesign is going to use its artificial intelligence to kind of figure out what the subject is, which it did. You can see the green shapes around here. Now, when I bring this photo in, I want to bring it in on the images layer. So it's right now on the typography layer. So I'm going to grab this and drag it to the images layer. Oh, I have to ungroup this first. Let me select this and make this to the images layer. I think I can do it now. Oh, it says I can't do it. Oh, well. Anyway, let's bring it in anyway. I want to bring this in now. Oops. Don't want to do that. I want to bring the whole thing in. Okay. Now I can move it to the images layer. I think. Yes. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to grab this and bring this in and watch the type just start moving out of the way. Okay. You see that? Now let's take a look and see. It's pretty big and we have a lot of space around this. So we're going to have to do some offsetting. All right. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So I don't know if you could see, but I'm holding my Command and Shift key down. I'm grabbing the corner of this and I'm going to just click and hold for a second. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, about like that size. I'm going to bring this down to about there. And now with the text wrap, I'm going to start increasing the offset around this. See how the text is coming right up against this image here? And I want to offset that. So I'm going to just click 1 and see how it starts spreading away. 2. And that looks pretty good. Okay. I'm going to go with something like that. Now I don't like the way it's kind of wrapping in here. So what I might do is click on this object here. I'm going to click on my direct selection tool and click on this and see the points here. Now I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and see if I can't get some of this to work a little bit better. The problem is that this word vignette is too long to fit under this here. And if I wanted that to come in, I'm going to have to do some modification to this path right here. So I might have to pull this in a little bit and pull that in a little bit. And there, it slides over. Okay. And this is a paragraph that's, this is a natural paragraph, so I can't really get this to come up here because this ends and this is a new paragraph. So there's not much I can do here, but I could, I can get this to slide over. And I kind of like that a little bit better. I'll go around this and see if I like all of the way it's breaking. Okay. It would be kind of be nice if this word venda would come up here. And I might be able to do that by pulling this in a little bit. There it comes. Okay, you see that just that slight movement of that makes that break a little bit better. Okay, I'm getting really picky here, but I want to show you the little subtleties that you can do. Okay. Now there's a problem here, and that is because I now have this wrap, I have overset text here. I'm not seeing everything, meaning that this last column is deeper. Okay, it goes that deep. Okay. We've got to make sure that we see all the text because we can't, just make it look good. We have to make it actually work. So now it's going to be a matter of how do I even these three columns out? Okay. I'm going to drop this first column maybe one line. Okay. And that brings that up one line. I'm going to drop this one line and see what happens. Okay. Aha, there it is. I was able to, with dropping this, I was able to get this to now all work out evenly. And this might take a little work on your part to make sure that these things kind of work themselves out. You might have to play around with this. Remember, you might have to highlight certain lines and track it tighter or open up the tracking so it, everything fits. But now if I turn my W key off, you can see that we have a nice even line of text. Okay, that kind of looks a little bit more like that does. Okay. Now, I am going to do some things here to bring up a little bit more space down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this table, just grab inside this table, and I'm going to move this up a bit, get it a little bit closer up here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab all of this here, this whole section here. I'm just going to click and marquee select all of this. And I'm going to click, hold, and I'm holding my shift key up so it only goes up, and I'm going to bring this up tighter to the table. Now that gives me a little bit more room down here to play with this box here that I'm going to set. Okay, this text. Okay, so let's go to the bottom, and we're almost done now. This is white. This text is white. This type is gray. And before I go any further, I'm going to do a quick Command S to save. Make sure I save. I'm going to turn my guides back on so I can see my guides. And now I'm going to make a text box. And this text box is going to be exactly 2 columns wide. Okay, 2 columns wide. And now here comes, let's see, was this on the text layer? No. Yes, this is on the typography layer. Okay, so that's fine. We're going to take this text box and we're going to highlight it. Okay, it's a text box. I'm going to get on my selection tool, okay, and select this text box, and I'm going to color it yellow. So I'm going to go up to my swatches and I'm going to hit my dessert page yellow, okay, because we need that to be yellow. Then I'm going to get on my text tool again, click in here. Now all this is a text box that's colored yellow. It's not a table. And remember the other day when we went through this example of breaking a text box into columns. So we're going to break this text box into 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So I'm going to come over here, insert my cursor in the text box, go up to Object, and come down to Text Frame Options. And I'm going to come over to the number of columns, and it's going to be 4. And you can see those, if I preview this, you can see that it broke this up into 4 columns. You can see the spacing in between that. And the spacing in between those columns happens to be a 125 inset spacing. The gutter spacing we'll leave at whatever it is, but the inset spacing is going to be 0.125. So let's make the inset spacing 0.125, and we'll click OK. All right, so now you can see the flashing cursor is inset 0.125 from the top and the left side, also from the bottom and the right side. Okay, now the text coming in is Myriad Pro condensed 8/9 is the size, and it's 60% black. So let's just set that up right now. Let's go back to our character attributes and let's make it Myriad Pro condensed. Okay, so I'm going to type in Myriad Pro and I'm going to come down and make it condensed right there. Myriad Pro condensed. I'm going to make the type 8/9. Okay. And I'm going to make the text black, but it's going to be 60%. Okay. So now this is all set and ready to import at Myriad Pro Condensed 8/9 black at 60%. So let's go get our copy from our PDF file, and that would be this copy here, the sidebar text. I'm going to highlight this, copy it. I'm going to come back and I'm going to paste it in here, and notice how it pastes throughout all four of these columns. Okay, we know that we have all of our text because it ends right here. We know we don't have overset text. It's Myriad Pro condensed. It's 60% black, which looks like gray. And now what we're going to do is bring that photo in and have this text wrap around that photo. Because when you look over here, basically what's happening over here is you have a situation that the text, this photo, is wrapping around this text. I mean, the text is wrapping around this photo. Okay, so let's go grab the photo. We're going to get on our selection tool, click off. I'm going to go to File Place or Command D, and I'm going to find that dessert photo. Now, I've already done the knockout in Photoshop. It's vignetted, so it fades out. I'm going to click Open, and I'm just going to kind of click and drag it about out to here. Okay, just for now. I'll just put it out here. Again, I'm going to get on my layers, and right now, because you see the green box, it should be on the images layer. So I'm going to drag it to the images layer. So now it's a red box. Okay, I'm going to look at about the relative size of that, place that there. Let me just go to Object, Arrange to Front. Oh, I know why. Because it's on the images layer, it's the typography. Because this box is colored yellow and considered type, it's covering up this. So that's not going to work. I'm going to have to take this and put it on the typography layer. Okay, even though it's an image, it's going to have to work this way because type is above images and it's, the colored box is blocking it. Okay, let's just bring this over here and see what it looks like. I'm going to just zoom in here and just kind of see about the size of this. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit bigger in this picture, so let me make it just a little bit bigger. I'll click on this and hold the Command and Shift key down, and I'll just drag this up a little bit bigger in size. Something like that, maybe. Okay. And I'll just pull this out now. And let's make this a text wrap. Okay, so with this selected, I'm going to go over to my text wrap. I'm going to select Wrap Around Object Shape. And I'm going to do Contour Options as Select Subject. Okay, so you can see it selected that. Figures that that's what we want. And now let's kind of place it inside of this sidebar. Okay. So I'm going to grab it with my selection tool. Okay, don't grab it with your direct selection tool. Grab it with the selection tool. Click off if you have to, and then click on until you see that box. And then we're going to just kind of click and drag this in here, and you can see how the text is repelling it. Okay. But again, we need the text to offset. So with this box selected, I'm going to come over to my text wrap box, and I'm going to start offsetting this text by 0.625, maybe one more. Okay, 0.125 looks pretty good. This is dropping down. I want to make this photo a little bit bigger, and that might help drop that. Okay, maybe something like that. Okay, see how it's all even now? But this is kind of funny. This is the beginning of a new paragraph, so I don't really like what's going on here. It would be nice if I can bring this up so it slides in here. So let's try and do that. Okay, I'm going to get on my direct selection tool now and click on this so I can see these points. I don't know if you can see it there, but you can see these points here. And it's really a matter of grabbing some of these points and dragging them in. It's kind of really hard to see, but I think it's that one there that's really causing the problem there. I need to bring this up. There. That's better. Let me back out and see. Okay, well that made everything one line shorter. But I like the way it breaks around here. Okay. I hope you see what I'm doing. I'm getting really picky because it's really important. I'm going to hit the W key to make sure that these spaces all look good. That's good design, you know, when you're really conscious of how this all works. Okay, now I want to drop this one more line so that all of this is even here. And this is where you got to kind of play around with this. If I move this around, see what happens. Okay, all right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my text tool and I'm going to highlight all of this text. And I'm going to track it. Okay, under tracking, I'm going to track this 10 points and look what happened. Okay, by increasing the tracking, which is the space between characters, each character, 10 points, I was able to now get all of this to line up evenly. Okay, I put in more space between characters and that was enough to make that line drop. Okay, this was before, see, one line short, and this is after. Okay, and that seems to work. Okay, so that works good. And I think that's, yeah, okay, that's what that's looking like. And so the last thing that I have to do now is put in the caption and that cookbook. Okay, I want to save real quick, so I'll do a Command S. You know, whenever we do all this work, boy, the last thing you want is to, you know, have something happen and you have to redo all of this. Okay, if I turn on my W key, notice how all of these are lined up to the margins. This is sitting right on the bottom margin. These are sitting on the left margin, right? So everything's organized. The columns create a grid system that allows you to align things and make things look good. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do is, I'm going to bring this up just a bit, tighten that up a little bit. Okay, so now we have space in here, is we're going to bring in that cookbook and set the captions. Okay, let's bring in the copy first. So I'll select the typography layer. I'll click on my text tool and I'm just going to draw kind of an arbitrary box, text box. Doesn't matter what size it is yet. I know that that caption is going to be Minion Pro 7/8 in italic. Minion Pro 7/8 in italic. So Minion Pro, okay, and I'll make it 7. There actually isn't a 7, so I'll have to type that in. 7/8. And it's not regular, it's italic. Okay, now I don't know if you have all of these Minion Pros, but you should have at least italic. So let's go find italic. There. Minion Pro italic 7/8. The color of this is going to be white. So let's make the swatches paper. And I think it's white. Let me just double check here. Yeah, it is white. And let's bring in the text. So we'll go over to our PDF file. Here is the caption right here. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to copy it, come over here, and I'll paste it in. Okay, so there it is. It came in Myriad Pro italic and in white. Okay, 7/8. Now the first letter has a drop cap attached to it. So let's zoom in here and let's fix this drop cap there. The drop cap is chunk 5, and it drops 3 lines, and it's chunk 5 regular. So I highlighted this. I'm going to go up to chunk 5, and I'm going to go to my paragraph attributes again, and I want to make this drop 3 lines, and again it's going to be in yellow. So I'll go to my swatches, yellow, and back out of this, and that's what we have. Okay, something that looks like that. That's fine for now. I'm going to just grab this text, move it out over here. We'll mess with this in a sec. Next thing we're going to do is bring in that cookbook photo. So I'll deselect and I'll go up to Command D, and I'll get the cookbook, dessert cookbook photo. I'll open that up, and I'm just going to kind of click and drag a relative size about here, place that there. Let me just take a look and peek and cheat and see. Okay, it's a little rotated, and it's about that big. Okay, from the bottom of the margin to a little bit over the top of the height of this yellow box here. Okay, so let's go to ours, and maybe this needs to be a little bit shorter, something like that. Okay, let me zoom in to this section here. Okay, so let's rotate this, and we're just going to kind of rotate it. What we do is we kind of hover over that bottom left, bottom right node until we get that curved thing, and we just kind of click and drag and rotate it. We'll put this, say, around there or so. I think we'll need to make this a little bit smaller, so Command Shift, and I'll click and reduce this down in size, maybe something like that. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select this for a text wrap. Okay. Now we can make this a on the layer of images because it is an image. So I'm going to came in on the text layer, on the type layer. So I'll make this so it has a red box around it. I select it with the selection tool, and then I'll go over to my text wrap, and I'm going to set this as a text wraparound object. And again, same clipping, the type is select subject. Okay, so it kind of detected the fact that this is the subject. It is the subject because it's the only one there. And now when I bring in, I'm going to come over to my text over here, select this text and bring it in. Okay, and as I bring it in and get it close to this text, to this book, okay, it should repel this. And what's interesting is, right, because this again is underneath the text. Okay, so we can't do this. Yeah, sorry. I can't, I keep doing this, but I can't make this on the text, I mean on the images layer. This has to be on the typography layer. Okay, so now this type is going to be repelling, I think. It should. Okay, text wrap, select subject. Oh, I know. When it did select subject, it selected this little peach right here. Okay, it did select the book. That's what happened. Okay, so this is not, this is not, it did, I just assumed that it selected the, the book, but what it did was it selected the peach when I did select subject. You see how it selected just the peach right here? It thinks that that's what I want this text to wrap around. Okay, so that's not what we want. We want a different selection method. Okay, so I'm going to select this textbook again, or this cookbook, and instead of select subject, I'm going to go with bounding box. Okay, we want it to repel the bounding box, the whole bounding box here. So I think now that if I do that, yes, it will repel the bounding box and not the subject it thinks it should be. So as I move this in, you can see how it's wrapping around the bounding box of this book. Okay, that's what I wanted. And now what I'm going to do is just kind of offset this, okay, a little bit. And I want to offset it to the right side of it. So this is the right side of it. I'll go up a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay. Select this and go a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay. So I get this nice little line here, and that should be fine. Something like that. Let me back out of this and see what it looks like. There's my caption. Not sure what this looks like. Yeah, it's pretty close to that. Okay, something like that. And my W key. Okay. So we have something like that. Now it looks like this needs to kind of go up a little bit more. Just tighten that up a little bit more there. Open up some space around there. I might even take this caption and drag it down just a bit, just to open up some more space in there, and maybe make this a little bit smaller. Okay, something like that. Looks a little bit more comfortable in here. Okay, back out of that. I'm going to do a quick Command S. And now I'm just going to kind of do a once over with my eyes and kind of take a look and see if everything looks pretty good. Okay, I've got my heading up here, my description, my table, looking at all of the spacing. Okay, I've got my main article, my wrap around this object here. Got my sidebar box, the wrap around here. Got my 4 columns. My caption wrapping around this dessert cookbook. No overset text icons here. No overset text icons here. Or, oh, there it is. See that? I have an overset text icon here, which means that I'm not seeing all of this text. And that's not good. Okay? That means that there's more text here than what we're seeing. And that could really ultimately create big problems if this were being printed. We wouldn't have all of the text that we're seeing. Okay. So we have to kind of find out now how much more text is involved here. And if I pull this down, okay, this is interesting that we have an overset text icon because we don't seem to have any, I might have, okay, I need to see what's going on here. Okay, this is the last line right here. RERUM. So I have to find out what is going on here. I'm going to turn my guides back on. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's ending there at that deal. And there's another line here that says something RUM. Okay. So the way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to highlight a few lines of these. And remember we did the +10 tracking on this. I'm going to take this much of it. Let me highlight a good 2 columns of this. And let me take out, instead of 10-point tracking, let me say 9-point tracking. Okay, that's not enough. How about 7-point tracking? Is that enough to bring that up? Okay, no tracking from here to here will bring that up. And now I have no overset text icon. Okay, so there's 10-point tracking here, there's no tracking here, and it's kind of hard to even notice that these are different. These 2 columns are different than these 2 columns. The important thing is that we got this word in here, which is the last word of the block. If I look at that, see that right here? Okay, RERUM, that's the end of the copy that the client gave us, and we have to make sure that we're using all of that. We can't just make it look good, like I said. We've got to make sure that all that copy works and fits. So now it looks good and it fits. Okay, so that looks good. I'm going to do a quick Command S and hit W. Again, I'm going around and looking now. Here's one more thing I'll say before we end. And that is, once you do a piece like this, there is a lot of copy here, and somebody has to proof that. And we have to make sure that the client is responsible for that. So we would send this back to the client and say, okay, here's your design, here's your layout. You need to proof it, and you need to give us an okay, whether everything's spelled correctly. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't proof it ourselves. We should always proof what we did. And the way you proof is from the top down. You read everything and you look to see if you missed a period or a comma or whatever. And if you're not good with this, many design firms have hired, will hire a proofreader to come in and proof an entire catalog, because it's well worth the money to pay a proofreader, because you don't want to get hung with a mistake. And what I always tell students is that in this business, if there's a typo, if there's a mistake that gets, we can point the finger at, as designers, we can point the finger at the client and say, well, hey, it's not our mistake, it's your mistake. And even though that's correct, a client could try and blame us for it, I mean, in the court of law, we would be exonerated for that because, it wasn't our responsibility. But at the same time, a client could say, look, we never want to use you again. And then we lose, okay? Even though we were right, we lost because we lost that client. And that client could be, a good client that pays us a lot of money. So, we want to make sure that everybody's happy in this whole situation, and that, we just don't, have that happen. So proofread it, look through every single thing, and take the time to do that. it is part of the charge that we charge clients is, proofing and making corrections. Now, if the client comes back and says, well, we got corrections, we want you to put in another, photo here, all that time that it takes us to do that, we charge for. But because we did it in a table, it's going to be easier to make that change. And I already talked about that in the last example. Okay, so this is the tables project. And you have the copy, you have the photos, you have the video now. And what I want you to do is get started on this and start building this and putting this together. I'm going to look and see, how you're constructing this. I thought we would do more paragraph styles or character styles with this, but I don't think we really need to based on, what the copy was. But if this copy were all different, if we have to paste in 5 different descriptions and this went on for several pages, then yes, we would use a paragraph styles and character styles because that's really makes things a lot faster. Okay, with that, hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, I'll answer those questions in class. As far as that goes, I'm signing off, okay? So I will see you in class, and good luck on this project.